This is Beyond with Heather Tesch, where we examine near-death experiences and life itself, hopefully making this life a little better. Merry Christmas, everyone. My guest today is Reverend Bill McDonald.
Well, ho, 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 and Merry Christmas to everybody else. I love this time of year for a lot of reasons. And for one, I like inspirational stories.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to share one with you, Heather, if that's okay.
I would love to hear it.
My son, he graduated from the California Highway Patrol Academy. He was a young man, and he had about a year in the Highway Patrol, and he was stationed at the Golden Gate. He had the patrol that had the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, and he'd patrol up to Mill Valley, I think, or someplace. And then he'd come back and forth to that highway stretch right there, US 101. And he goes, Dad, I don't know what to get you for Christmas. I said, you know, I'm not a gift guy. I said, but give me a story. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, no, give me a story. He goes, well, I said, no, just put that in the back of your mind and intentions. Just give me a story for Christmas Day. So he had no clue what I was talking about. Oh, yeah, okay, Dad, my crazy dad, right? He's in this new age stuff. All right. So he's patrolling the Golden Gate Bridge. It's Christmas. I believe it was Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. I think it was Christmas Day. And, High Patrol, they work, doesn't matter what holiday it is. And he's there, and it's a drizzly morning, that heavy fog that's like damp and it's wet. It's like rain. And he comes off the bridge and he goes through the tunnel there, if those that know the area. And he's driving up 101 and he sees this dirty, grubby young man about his age. In fact, turns out just right about exactly his age, standing alongside the road. My son was about 22, I think. I think the guy's about 22 years old. And he's standing there walking alongside the road. And, that's against the law in California. You can't walk on a highway, with fences and everything. So he pulls him over and it's Christmas Day. I don't want to arrest this guy, He's miserable and everything. So he says, okay, well, opens up the door. He puts him in the back seat. He says, what's your name? He wanted to run and see if there's any awards for him. And he finds out when he runs the thing that the guy was on parole from San Quentin, which if you know the San Francisco Bay Area, San Quentin is just a few miles past the Golden Gate Bridge. There's actual penitentiary there, San Quentin, and a real bad prison. And so he looks at the guy and has no warrants, but he looks at the date and he's only been out like 3 months and he's only like 4 or 5 miles from San Quentin. Like that's as far as he's gotten out of jail, is just a few miles past the gate. And then he looks further. He's got this little printout on the screen and he saw what his arrest address was at. And it was this beautiful neighborhood, Marin. In actually Mill Valley, the town of Mill Valley, which is like $1 million plus places. I mean, it's really nice, right? Plush. And he sees the house and everything, and he sees that was actually his parents' address, that he didn't live there. He was kicked out or something, but that was the address of record for him. So I thought, well, I'm not going to ask my sergeant because this is against the rules. He said, but it's Christmas Day. I just can't push him back on the street. And he was only like 2 miles away. The next exit and turn over, right? And he's got to find the place. So he decides to drive there, which is against the rules. He's not a taxi cab. He's not, an Uber. And he's going to try to return this kid to an address where those parents may have disowned him. You might have tried to kill him or something. You don't know the history of there. I mean, they could turn him in and call a sergeant. He'd be in trouble for dumping this convict at their house. But he followed his intuition. He goes, no, I'm taking him. So he drives up to the house. He checks the house. He finds out the parents are there, gets their names, tells the kid. Of course, he's a kid. He's 22. The guy in the back's 22, right? Goes sit in the back seat. Kid recognizes the house, right? Because he's kind of like, and he goes, he said, no, don't. I go, why? He says, I was arrested and sentenced to 3 years in jail. I left that house, I ran away. They never knew what happened to me. And I spent the last 3 years in jail, so they haven't seen me in 3, 4 years or whatever. they're not going to be happy with that. And he says, okay. So he finds out that that's how he had the address. Much what the parents didn't know what happened to him. So he knocks on the door, and the father comes, and the father's looking at the car, and he's looking. This guy's grubby and everything. And my son says, I have something for you for this Christmas Day. Do you know? And he gives the name, and he goes, yeah, that's our son. And he calls his wife. His wife comes out, and they're both standing at the door. And she goes, you got our son? Yeah, he's in the back of the car here. I was gonna, it's okay if I leave him. He goes, oh, yes, you're an answer to a prayer. He goes, what do you mean? He says, we've been praying every Christmas. That's all we wanted to know was where our son was at. We wanted to hold him and hug him. So he unlocks the door. He sees the kid. Kid kind of trudges up to the door, and then he watches. They all hug. Wave at him. He gets on his phone. He calls me. He goes, Dad, got a story for you. And that story touched me then, and it touches me now. Because they're both the same age. This one kid come from a rich environment, messed up with drugs, got arrested. And every Christmas, those people would pray out to God. Well, they probably prayed all the time for him, but Christmas most especially, they just wanted nothing else for Christmas but to have their son home. And he was staying away on the highway and living under overpasses because he figured they'd be mad at him. So, the real meaning of Christmas, the real true story, the prodigal son story. Everybody wants the prodigal son to come home, or the prodigal daughter. Having that door open is a matter of keeping your heart open. And praying and having faith that it will happen is the catalyst for that to happen. And to have, like in my son's case, the intentions to do something good for the holidays. And he put himself emotionally and spiritually in the shoes of this guy. I had nothing in common with him. My son's a police officer, straight-laced, military, army, all this stuff. And this guy, not so much. And yet, he saw the oneness in the spirit. And for me, I'll always be grateful for my son for giving me that story.
It is a beautiful story. Thank you so much, Reverend Bill, for sharing that story with us. I want to wish you and your family a very, very Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, and may all the prodigal sons go home. You're wanted.
Oh, that would be a blessing. And Merry Christmas to all of you listening. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining me on Beyond with Heather Tesch. Please add comments and questions you'd like future guests to answer. Also, if you liked what you heard, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. That'll help keep this podcast going. You can also go to Beyond with Heather Tesch to look for more episodes.